At its height, the Maya city of Copan rivaled ancient Rome with a population of 19,000 pyramids towering above the rainforest, and rulers so powerful they seemed immortal. But within a single generation, the dynasty shattered, and rainfall plunged as much as 54%. Archaeologists claimed the Maya had vanished, but new DNA evidence says otherwise. What truly happened on the brink of their collapse? In the year 730, Copan stood at its height. 19,000 people crowded its plazas and terraces. The city's king, Uaxaclajun Ub-a-Ka'awil, better known as 18 Rabbit, presided over a dynasty that had ruled for centuries. His likeness, carved in stone, gazed out from towering stelae. Under his command, workers hauled limestone blocks for new temples and the grand hieroglyphic stairway. Scribes recorded victories and rituals and glyphs that wrapped around monuments. For generations, Copan's rulers had balanced power and prosperity, drawing tribute and trade from their neighbors, but that balance shattered with a single act. In 738 CE, 18 Rabbit was captured by Kak Tiliu Chan Yopat, the king of Quirigua, once a vassal and now a rival. The story, preserved in the glyphs of Quirigua's Stela E, is unflinching. The divine lord of Copan was bound and publicly executed, likely beheaded on November 7th. The shock rippled through the city's heart. Construction on Copan's grandest projects ground to a halt. The hieroglyphic stairway meant to immortalize the dynasty was left unfinished. Sculptures and altars remained half-carved, abandoned where the workers dropped their tools. Epigraphers have traced the silence that followed. Inscriptions grow sparse, their confident stories replaced by gaps and erasures. Archaeologists found layers of fill left untouched, evidence that plans for new monuments were suddenly abandoned. The Acropolis, once alive with ceremony, saw its elite compounds repurposed or deserted. The loss of 18 Rabbit was more than a personal tragedy. It was a rupture in the city's foundation. Trade routes faltered, tribute dried up, and the royal court struggled to reassert control. Within a few decades, Copan's population began to shrink. By the end of the century, the city that had rivaled Rome was a shadow of itself. The decline was measurable. Fewer houses, fewer burials, and a skyline frozen in mid-construction. The collapse of Copan's dynasty was not the end of the Maya, but it was a turning point. The city's crisis would soon be echoed across the lowlands as environmental pressures mounted. But before the rains failed and the drought set in, Copan's downfall showed how quickly power could unravel, even at the height of prosperity. Sediment cores pulled from the bed of Lake Chichancanab in the northern Yucatan hold a record of ancient rainfall, layer by layer. In the laboratory, geochemists measured the oxygen isotopes locked in these sediments, tracing the rise and fall of water levels over centuries. The results were stark. During the Terminal Classic period, when Maya cities began to empty, the lake's chemistry shows that average rainfall dropped by about 41 to 54% compared to modern levels. In the most severe episodes, the models suggest as much as 70% less rain fell than today. These were not isolated bad years or brief dry spells. The droughts lasted for decades, sometimes generations. The evidence is not limited to one lake. Stalagmites from caves across the lowlands, with their own precise oxygen isotope signatures, echo the same story of prolonged drying. The timing lines up. The worst droughts struck between 800 and 950 CE, overlapping with the abandonment of Tikal, Copan, and dozens of other Maya centers. The scale of water loss was catastrophic for a civilization built on rain-fed maize farming. Reservoirs shrank, canals and aguadas ran dry. Maize, the foundation of Maya life, failed in field after field. A drop of nearly half the expected rainfall meant that even the most sophisticated water management systems could not keep up. Crop failures led to hunger, unrest, and migrations. The most extreme drought years, when rainfall dipped to 1/3 of normal, would have pushed communities past the breaking point. Archaeologists have found layers of wind-blown dust and eroded soil in the same period, signs of fields left unplanted and hillsides stripped bare. Scientists debate the exact timing and regional spread of these droughts, but the core finding is clear. Environmental stress mounted year after year, turning political fractures into a wider unraveling. The Maya faced a climate crisis of unprecedented scale, one that tested every strategy for survival. The question became not just how to rule, but how to endure when the rains no longer came. In a subterranean chamber near the sacred cenote at Chichén Itzá, archaeologists uncovered a mass of bones, more than 100 children, their remains commingled in a space no larger than a small bedroom. For decades, the story told was one of young women sacrificed to the rain god Chak, a tale that shaped textbooks and museum displays. When a team led by Christina Werner set out to extract ancient DNA from these remains, the evidence told a different story. Every single child tested, 64 in all, was genetically male. Most were between 3 and 6 years old. Analysis of their bones confirmed they had grown up on a typical Maya diet, heavy in maize and local plants, not the food of outsiders or captives. The pattern was unmistakable. These children came from local families, their lives and deaths woven into the fabric of the community. What the geneticists found next was even more astonishing. Using kinship algorithms on the sequenced genomes, they identified 2 pairs of identical twins among the dead, the first ever documented in the archaeological record. In total, about a quarter of the children were close relatives, brothers, cousins, sometimes even from the same household. These relationships stretched across centuries, with some kin groups contributing sons to the chamber over generations. The deliberate selection of male children, especially twins and close relatives, echoes stories from Maya mythology. In the Popol Vuh, the hero twins descend into the underworld, facing death and returning transformed. The presence of twin sacrifices, repeated over 5 centuries, suggests a ritual practice shaped by these ancient narratives. For Christina Werner, the pattern was unambiguous. Very few things in archaeology have such a clear pattern. The DNA left no room for the old myth. The sacrificial victims were not anonymous maidens, but local boys, some brothers, some twins, chosen to fulfill a sacred role at the heart of Maya belief. Geneticists once expected to find a vanished people behind the Maya collapse. Instead, the evidence points to survival. Ancient DNA from Copan, sequenced by Shigeki Nakagomi's team, traces a single thread of ancestry stretching more than 5,000 years. The same genetic markers appear in the bones of classic period rulers, in the children buried at Chichén Itzá, and in the genomes of modern Maya communities today. In towns like Tixcacaltuyub, just 60 kilometers from Chichén Itzá, DNA matches those ancient remains almost letter for letter. The people living there are not distant strangers to the pyramid builders. They are their direct descendants, linked by unbroken inheritance. The story written in their genes is not one of isolation. Population genomics reveals a mosaic of ancestry, local roots running deep, but also branches reaching out. During the rise of Copan, some elite burials show traces of highland Mexican ancestry, evidence of long-distance marriages and alliances. Diplomatic unions and migration helped shape the Maya world, weaving together distant city-states. Yet, even as new blood arrived, the core population endured, adapting to changing times and places. This is a story of continuity as much as connection. Rodrigo Barquera's research adds another layer. By comparing ancient immune genes to those of modern Maya, his team uncovered a record of survival encoded in the body's defenses. After European contact, waves of disease swept through the Americas. In Tixcacaltuyub, certain immune gene variants, absent in pre-contact remains, now appear at high frequency, shaped by centuries of epidemic. The living Maya are the descendants of those who withstood not only drought and political upheaval, but also the onslaught of new diseases. Their very DNA carries the legacy of adaptation and resilience. Today, around 7 million people across Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras identify as Maya. Their languages and traditions persist in the same lands their ancestors once farmed and ruled. Some communities show remarkable genetic continuity, spanning more than 2,000 years in the same geographic region. The collapse of classic cities did not erase the Maya, it transformed them. Ancient DNA does not tell a story of disappearance. It tells a story of survival. It reveals an unbroken chain from the past to the present, and it confirms that the descendants of the pyramid builders are still here, living and carrying forward a living legacy. Ancient DNA proves the Maya never vanished. They adapted, they endured, and they remain. Today, over 7 million Maya still speak ancestral languages and honor traditions shaped by resilience. History isn't just ruins, it lives in people. The story continues, written in blood as much as stone. Share your thoughts below.